Welcome to Toby's Bar in Westport for Pitchside, the Mayo News Sports Weekly. New intro, same old faces, but nothing we can do about that, guys. But this week, we're delighted to be joined by one of Mayo's finest footballers. She's a really talented defender, but she'll be up against it tomorrow against Leitrim in a relegation playoff that means the world to Mayo ladies football and to Mayo sport in general. And now we're delighted to be joined by Nicola O'Malley, Westport legend at this stage, I think, and Mayo fullback. We've been around ladies football a long time. We kind of bumped into each other over the years, and I've watched you with Sacred Heart, yourself and your sisters, and then you progressed into Westport, the club, and on to Mayo.
I suppose
you've had a lifetime in ladies football, haven't you?
Yeah, we've definitely, between all of us, football is something we've always grown up with. So, it's something that from a very young age we've always been involved in. We're very lucky to have been involved in it over the years. So, they can't seem to get rid of us around the place, I'd say, is their problem.
But it's a huge family thing, as you said. Like, your parents, I have to say, like, they are just so dedicated to sport and to family, and it's lovely to see, isn't it?
Yeah, they love it. And I suppose, like I said, we grew up with football in our house. We were always a football mad household. We were lucky that we had that support, I suppose. From a very young age, they would have always traipsed us around the country to different games. And you can always count on them being there on the sideline, and at nearly any game you look around and they're there. Yeah,
of course. And as your careers progressed in the football pitch, life progressed as well. And still, you stuck with Westport and Mayo, and, football must mean the world to you.
Yeah, so it was, it's something that I've always enjoyed doing. I've been very lucky to be involved with teams, that are very supportive in everything that you do on and off the field. Great teammates, great coaches, and when you're in an environment like that, it's not something you really want to leave. So, it's something that we are really lucky to have been involved in all our lives, really.
And how difficult then is it this year with Mayo? Like, you've had great success with Westport, winning the first county title. You've had success with Mayo, you've always been hugely competitive. And then this year, it's a little different, relegated in the league, under pressure in the championship. Came back against Cork, had a really good performance, but still in a relegation playoff tomorrow. And we go to Tubbercurry against Leitrim.
Yeah, I suppose, you can dress it up any way you want, but the season has been disappointing, would be how you would have to describe it. It's not where any team wants to be in a relegation playoff in the championship. Ideally we'd be lining out in the quarter-final tomorrow. So and there's fine margins there. Like you said, obviously our game against Cork actually probably was our best performance of the year. Tough one to stomach, to be honest, to be so close and yet so far, like I said, we're staring down a relegation playoff now tomorrow. But I suppose that's just the way the cookie has crumbled for us this year. There has been a massive transition this year, but then I suppose on the flip side of that, you look at how many young girls have been brought in and have been exposed to that, and I suppose that gives you a lot of hope for the next couple of years. You can see that development there. There's a lot of very good, talented young players coming through the ranks. So they've now, got that introduction to that next level, and you would hope that as the next kind of year or two goes on, that you would see that progression there again.
How difficult or easy was it for you? Like, a couple of years ago, you were, a rookie. Now you're given all your experience to these young girls. Like, is that a massive transition, or did you find it handy, or do you see it at all? Like,
to be honest, I would say I don't really see myself in that. I don't, I suppose, overly think about it. Obviously, the reality is I probably am one of the oldest players on the team now. I definitely bring up the age profile, but we'll put it that way. But, in fairness, the young girls have been really good. They're really receptive to everything that's said and brought on. They're really eager to be involved. So it doesn't seem really like that. I don't feel like that. They're leaders all over the team, to be honest. And regardless of age profile, obviously even some of our younger players on the team, I would say are actually some of the biggest leaders that we have within that group. So, it doesn't, I don't really view it in that way. I think there's people have experience from lots of different things. Like, there's a lot of them young girls who've been involved with like school All-Irelands, underage, so, they're well used to being in those situations.
How difficult has the season been? Like, how do you get yourself, bad defeat, how do you get yourself up for the next one? Like, it's then you get another rattle.
There have been a lot of lows. I suppose how you would describe it this year. It's hard to kind of sometimes pick yourself up and get back on the fence, but I suppose you just need to look at the positives in each game, and there has been that progression there. So if you look at even across the championship, our first game against Leitrim, compared to the game against Cork. Like, you can see the progress that has been made there, and I suppose that's what you try to focus on. Each week when you're back in and training, you just have to take the positives as well as the negatives from the games and look at building a platform for each game going forward.
So tomorrow it's a huge game. Like, Mayo ladies have played big games over the years. I think this is arguably one of the biggest. It mightn't get the national headlines, but I think it's huge.
Yeah, I think possibly, like I said, I don't think that people realise how big the game is in the sense that it's so important for both club and county football within Mayo. I think that you're playing at senior inter-county level. You really don't want to be going down that drop in terms of championship level football. So for the team, obviously, that are playing, it's a massive, but I do think for wider football in Mayo, it's really important that we're playing at the highest level. That's where we find ourselves. It's a really big game. It's a really important game. We are just hoping that we can get over the line tomorrow and kind of draw a line under the sand this year and then move on to a new platform for next year again.
It's a sliding door moment. Like, it's a generation since Mayo weren't senior. It's maybe more than a generation. And suddenly we're on the cliff edge. Like, so what has the week been like? What has the prep been like? The
prep, in fairness, has been very good. I think everyone realises the importance of this game. So, in terms of our preparation for like a training and everything is being done to the highest standard, which you'd expect all the time anyway. But, everyone is really tuned in. I guess we really just want to get a result tomorrow, and ensure our status for next year. Yeah, but
that's not easy. Like, Leitrim pushed you. Leitrim maybe should have beaten you.
Very easily could have beaten us,
Yeah, and anyone that thinks Mayo against Leitrim and Mayo are destined to win, that's not the way it is tomorrow in Tubbercurry.
No, definitely not. And I think everyone within our camp knows that Leitrim pose a threat. There's no one who is definitely, none of us are undermining them in that sense, because, like I said, they push us all the way and arguably should have won that game. They missed some goal chances right at the end. They have some very strong players. Also, if you look at it from their point of view, they obviously came up from intermediate last year.
Won the All-Ireland.
Won the All-Ireland. A, that doesn't happen easily, but B, they also don't want to go straight up and down in the same year. They'll be throwing everything they have at that game tomorrow to try and retain their senior status also. So definitely it's going to be a big and a tough game too.
So how important is it that even at this late stage, that people at the homes of Mayo, that they gather and they say, we're going to Tubbercurry tomorrow to support the Mayo ladies? Yeah,
definitely. I think if we can, a support, I think will make a massive difference for that game tomorrow. You could feel it even in the crowd the last day against the Cork game. When we started trying to claw our way back in, and you could feel the atmosphere building and the crowd getting behind you, and it means so much, to try to drive on that extra bit. So we would be hoping we'd have big support. Obviously the game is in Tubbercurry, neutral venue, but we would be hoping that it would nearly feel like a home game for us, that we would have that support there.
So we need the Mayo roar tomorrow.
Definitely,
So Nicola, finally, for you personally, like tomorrow night when you go home, how important is the result for you? Like,
I would say for me personally, it's the same as for everyone on that team. Every day you go out and represent Mayo, you want to do it to the highest standard that you can, and trying to get a result. So for all of us, it's really important that we get over the line tomorrow, for ourselves, for the team, and also for the wider Mayo community.
Absolutely. For Mayo, it's for Mayo, isn't it?
Exactly.
So best luck, Nicola, and the Mayo News will be there, and we cannot wait.
Thank you so much.
That was Nicola O'Malley. Really interesting woman, really interesting conversation about Mayo tomorrow. Mayo, whether it's men's football, ladies' football, whatever it is always nearly the story. And I'm joined by very happy Donegal man here, Oisin Bradley. Oisin, you've had a great week. Donegal going to win the All-Ireland, obviously, now that we're out.
That's it, no bother. No bother with me anyway.
But Mayo, though, you're immersed in Mayo sport now with the Mayo News. And the Mayo manager's job, that's really online. We have any amount of stories about it this week, how it's developing, who's in the running for it, the way Kevin McStay was sacked, really. And, what's your thoughts? It's like everybody wants the job. It's like putting your hand in, to the lucky bag and picking out the winner of the lotto, really. Everyone wants to be the manager when we do win the All-Ireland. What's your thoughts on it?
Listen, there's plenty of names floating around in circles online there. You see people from outside like Oisin McHale being linked with the job. Then you see people like Oisin O'Malley there, who was successful with Kula. He's someone who's been linked with the job in terms of a Mayo man. some people have a bit of preference like that. Some people are a bit guarded about it has to be like a Mayo man managing Mayo football. In my opinion, it should be like the best person for the job. But as it develops, we'll see. You could pick any number of names that are floating around in circles and WhatsApp groups and all over the place.
Yeah,
that are like in the rumor mill.
Yeah, it's always the case, isn't it? It's look, we all have our own preferences and our own thoughts, but we really don't know. If you look at the betting odds, they're jumping around the place. There's it goes from John Mahan, who was there in '96, to Andy Moran, who hasn't been there yet. One of the young pretenders. And in the middle of it, then you have James Horn, say for example, and Oisin Campbell and Tony McEntee.
Yeah, you could list names forever. Like even see outside names like Kieran Donaghy would be a very rogue shout and a very interesting one given his history with Mayo.
Well, we had an article on that yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Kieran was mentioned. Yeah,
exactly. I've done 2 articles now. Listened to about 10 names that could be in there.
And we could have another 5 today.
Yeah, you never know. But the process will be followed, and at the county board meeting that's happening on a Monday, we'll get a bit more of an idea of what the process will be. I've written an article as well, and what the process was in the past and how it should look going down the stretch.
Yeah,
it could be over in a month, could be over in 2. You never know, but.
Yeah, but looking at that process, which is online, on mayonews.ie, it seems like it's a good process, but it seems drawn out. It seems like a HSE appointment, really, doesn't it? Like you have to, list all your accomplishments, and then you have to. There's 3 or 4 really convoluted steps, I think.
Yeah, I was saying in the office last day, I've seen where leaders maybe elected a bit easier. But obviously there's some due diligence needs to be there, and the Mayo County Board would say this is to avoid any sort of botched proceedings and then for them to rush into a manager and get it wrong.
Yeah.
But then you look at Dublin there, and you look at it looks like Ger Brennan's going to be the Dublin manager
within a few days.
Yeah, within a few days. Like it went from after Leitrim out of the championship within a week. It was almost like he was odds on to get the job in some of the bookmakers.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a janka as well. There's talk now that Oisin McHale might be interested in the Louth job. There's all sorts of rumours going around the place.
It's going to be a knock-on effect through a number of counties, I think.
Yeah, there's so many counties.
Sligo, Roscommon, Mayo, Louth, Armagh, maybe even. Who knows?
It is silly season in terms of manager appointments. You hear some crazy rumours out there, but it'll hopefully become clear after this county board meeting on Monday.
So let's cut to the chase, Oisin. We can talk around it all the time. Who do you think will be the next Mayo manager?
If I was to actually be handed €5 and go into a bookies now and put a bet in it, I probably might go John Mahan, to be honest.
Would you? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Interesting.
Listen, again, he's locally based. I know he's been plenty of years in the tank, but he still shows a lot of hunger. He's been involved in youth football. He's been around the block. He has that experience of guiding Mayo 2 All-Ireland finals, 2 Connacht titles.
Yeah.
So he would be far from the worst shout. Again, Oisin O'Malley is another one who I would see as a good option personally. I know he's based a bit far away, but as he knows Mayo football, he's been involved in the inter-county team. He's had a bit of All-Ireland success, which is something which is not that common in Mayo circles.
In any circles, really. But personally, really good people. People. I think Andy Moran is going to be involved somehow, and I think he brings a huge amount of positivity, as does Austin, of course, and John and everyone that's involved. But personally, I think, not that I have a $5 to bet, but I'd be putting up.
Me neither, to be honest. If you give me the $5, I put it on, but I don't have one myself.
We'd have to get the Oracle of Kilmena to choose.
Yeah, we'll get him down someday.
So that's the end of Pitchside, the Mayo News Sports Weekly from Toby's for this Friday. Catch you all again next Friday.